I never thought a silly bet could change everything. We were in the gym, the echo of bouncing basketballs and sneakers filling the air, when Chloe, captain of the cheer squad, smirked at me across the court. "Bet you can't survive a weekend in the squad uniform," she said, tossing a perfectly manicured hand in the air. I laughed, thinking it was absurd. "Me? A cheerleader? No way," I said, flexing my arms jokingly. "I'm not doing your pom-pom dance routine." "Come on," she teased, eyes glinting with mischief. "Loser has to wear it. Full uniform. For the whole weekend. You in?" It was stupid. Dumb. A joke. And, of course, I said yes. The first night, when I opened the small box Chloe had handed me, pink, gold, and glittering, the reality hit like a punch. The uniform wasn't just fabric, it was a statement. A miniskirt, tight top, matching bows, socks, and the softest sneakers I'd ever felt. My stomach twisted with equal parts excitement and terror. I tried it on in the bathroom, holding my breath as the fabric hugged my body in ways that no shirt and jeans ever had. The skirt swished as I moved, light and teasing. My top clung to my chest, outlining a shape I had never seen on myself before. I stepped in front of the mirror, and my jaw dropped. This wasn't a costume. This was me? My reflection was unfamiliar, delicate, and undeniably feminine. My shoulders seemed narrower, my waist smaller, and the curve of my hips undeniable. My hair framed my face in soft waves I didn't recognize, and even my voice had a strange lilt when I whispered, "Oh, wow." Fear surged. Disbelief clawed at my chest. I laughed nervously, a high, almost musical sound that wasn't my own. Every inch of me felt different. My hands, my legs, the sway in my hips when I adjusted my posture. My pulse raced, heart hammering like a drum in my ears. From the hallway came Chloe's teasing, "Looking good. Don't trip over those heels." I spun around, cheeks burning, fingers clutching the counter. I can't do this," I muttered, though a part of me secretly thrilled at the sensation, at the transformation. That night, alone, staring at my reflection, I realized the bet hadn't just forced me into a uniform. It had forced me to see myself differently, to feel differently, to be someone entirely new. And the thought of going out tomorrow in front of the whole school made my stomach churn and my pulse race with a dangerous mix of fear and excitement. The next morning, reality hit harder than I ever imagined. Wearing the cheer uniform to school was like walking into a spotlight, even though the hallways were crowded with students rushing to class. Every locker, every corner, every glance felt amplified. My sneakers squeaked softly on the linoleum, the skirt swishing with each step, making me painfully aware of every movement. Whispers followed me. "Is that him? I can't believe he's actually wearing that." I kept my head down, backpack slung low, pretending to tie my shoelaces, but every word sliced through my confidence like a knife. Even friends who normally ignored me noticed, their eyes wide, half in disbelief, half in suppressed laughter. "Dude, seriously," whispered my best friend, Jake, when he cornered me by the vending machines. "What did you get yourself into?" "I lost a bet," I mumbled, voice shaking, catching the higher pitch I hadn't expected. My cheeks burned. Jake raised an eyebrow. "Wow, okay. That's bold." Bold? I felt anything but bold. I felt exposed. Vulnerable. Every step to the cafeteria was a minefield. The uniform's tight top pressed against my chest, the skirt brushed my thighs, and the bows in my hair bobbed with every motion, announcing my presence. Every stare from passing students made me want to shrink, disappear, melt into the floor. At lunch, I tried to sit quietly, hoping to become invisible, but the giggles and sideways glances made that impossible. My stomach churned, hands trembling as I picked at a sandwich. I could feel the subtle shift in how people treated me, the jokes, the stares, the barely concealed fascination. Even teachers noticed. Mr. Hargrove, my math teacher, paused mid-sentence, eyebrows shooting up. Making a fashion statement today?" he asked, voice teasing but unsure. I forced a laugh, cheeks burning, mumbling something about a school tradition. By the end of the day, my body ached, not from physical strain but from the constant awareness, the tension of being watched, judged, and seen in ways I had never experienced. The mirror in the bathroom revealed a version of me I barely recognized. My hips swayed differently, shoulders narrower, face softer. Even my voice sounded strange when I whispered to myself, "This isn't me." Yet beneath the fear, a tiny spark of curiosity flickered. Despite the embarrassment, despite the whispers and the shock, a part of me couldn't look away from the reflection. Something about the sway of the skirt, the tilt of my head, the soft rhythm of my voice, felt intoxicating. By the time I got home, exhausted, I realized the bet had done more than humiliate me. It had disrupted everything I thought I knew about myself. And though fear dominated, curiosity, shame, and a faint thrill swirled together in a confusing, overwhelming cocktail I didn't know how to manage. Alone in my room, I peeled off the uniform slowly, laying it carefully on the chair. My reflection in the mirror now seemed almost like a stranger's. I traced the soft curves of my waist, the smoothness of my legs, the unfamiliar tilt of my shoulders. And in that quiet moment, I realized something terrifyingly exciting. I wanted to see more. That night, the house was silent, the world outside muted as if holding its breath. I locked my bedroom door and sat on the edge of my bed, the cheer uniform folded carefully beside me. My heartbeat was still erratic, my palms clammy, but curiosity gnawed at me, insistent and impossible to ignore. I reached for a small makeup kit I had borrowed from my sister weeks ago, long before the bet. Lip gloss, mascara, eyeliner, blush, tools I had never imagined using on myself. Trembling, I picked up a brush, swiping a soft pink along my cheeks. The warmth of the color spread, painting my skin with a new kind of light. My reflection in the mirror caught me off guard. The soft flush accentuated the delicate features that had become unmistakably feminine over the weekend. My lips glistened slightly, my eyes seemed brighter, more alive. Every small adjustment, contouring, blending, brushing, made me feel more present in this new body, more aware of the curves, the softness, the sway. I experimented with my hair next. Running my fingers through the silky strands, I twisted sections into loose waves, letting them cascade over my shoulders. Each movement changed the way the light hit my face, the way my reflection moved, and with it, my pulse quickened. There was something intoxicating about seeing myself like this, a version of me both strange and familiar. Then came the dress rehearsal of gestures and posture. I stood before the mirror, hands pressed gently to my waist, tilting my hips, practicing a subtle sway. I tried walking across the room, the skirt brushing against my legs, heels clicking softly on the floor. My movements felt foreign at first, awkward, unsteady. But gradually, they became smoother, more natural. I tilted my head, smiled softly, and heard my voice, high, gentle, almost musical, float back at me. The sound startled me, yet thrilled me in equal measure. I practiced talking, reading aloud from a book, experimenting with inflections, softening my tone, finding a rhythm that felt authentic to this new version of myself. Every word, every movement, every glance in the mirror built a strange confidence I hadn't known I could possess. Curiosity pushed me further. I tried different outfits, soft skirts, flowing blouses, pastel socks, and paired them with accessories I had only admired from afar, bracelets, earrings, delicate necklaces. Each addition changed the way I carried myself, the way I occupied space, the way the reflection stared back at me with wide, luminous eyes. Hours slipped by unnoticed. Fear was still there, fear of discovery, fear of judgment, but it was mixed with a thrilling exhilaration, a spark of empowerment. I laughed quietly, whispered to myself, "Who are you, really?" as if seeking an answer I didn't yet know. I experimented with movement in front of the mirror, a tilt of the shoulder, a flick of the wrist, a subtle arch of the back. Each microgesture revealed new possibilities, new ways to inhabit this body, this persona. I felt a shift inside me, an awakening of curiosity that refused to be suppressed. By the end of the night, I lay on my bed, exhausted, breath shallow, heart still racing. The reflection on my vanity seemed softer now, confident in a quiet, burgeoning way. I realized something profound. This wasn't just play. This wasn't a joke or a punishment. I had unlocked a part of myself I had never dared to see, let alone explore. And beneath the fear, beneath the embarrassment, beneath the lingering pulse of anxiety, there was a tiny, undeniable thrill. I wanted more. By Saturday morning, I was ready to test the boundaries I had explored alone in my room. The sun filtered softly through my blinds, and I felt a strange mixture of anxiety and excitement as I slipped into a soft pleated skirt and a fitted blouse. My reflection caught my breath. This version of me was no longer hiding, and I could feel the confidence slowly threading through my body. Stepping outside, the air hit my skin, brushing over the skirt in a way that made me acutely aware of each movement. My sneakers clicked lightly on the pavement, and for a moment, panic flared. What if someone recognized me? What if someone laughed? But I reminded myself of the countless hours spent practicing gestures, posture, and voice. I could do this. The first real test came at the coffee shop. I hesitated at the door, heart hammering, then took a deep breath and stepped inside. A few customers glanced my way. My pulse spiked, but I forced myself to move deliberately, hands relaxed at my sides. "Hi, can I get a cappuccino?" I asked, my voice soft but steady. The barista smiled warmly. "Sure thing." And that was it. No ridicule, no whispers. Just a normal interaction. My chest swelled subtly with pride, a tiny victory that made me grin to myself as I accepted my drink. I continued to test myself that afternoon, wandering through the park, observing how my new posture affected the sway of my hips, the tilt of my head. Strangers smiled at me, sometimes exchanged pleasantries, and each interaction built my confidence a little more. I began experimenting with gestures I had only practiced alone, adjusting my hair with a flick of the wrist, tucking strands behind my ears, crossing my legs when I sat on a bench. Each micro-movement was a revelation, an exploration of how my body could feel natural, feminine, and powerful at the same time. By mid-afternoon, I even ventured into a boutique, picking out pastel accessories and delicate earrings I had admired for months. I held each piece up to my reflection in the store mirror, practicing smiles and playful expressions, testing which gestures felt authentic. The store clerk complimented my selection, and I realized how liberating it felt to be seen, really seen, as this new version of myself. Even returning home wasn't nerve-wracking anymore. I walked with purpose, heels clicking softly, skirt swishing, hair bouncing lightly over my shoulders. For the first time, I didn't flinch at the reflection in a shop window. I studied it, learned from it, appreciated it. Every glance reinforced a growing realization: femininity wasn't just about clothes or makeup. It was about presence, confidence, and inhabiting my body fully. That evening, I caught sight of a friend from school on the street. My first instinct was to hide, to duck, but I stood my ground. Their eyes widened slightly in surprise, but instead of mockery, I received a warm smile. "Wow, you look different." "Good different," they said, and it hit me like a shockwave. A stranger's acknowledgement, simple yet sincere, validated every choice I had made, every risk I had taken. Back in my room, I practiced more, poses, gestures, expressions, until the exhaustion of the day hit me. I lay back on the bed, legs crossed, feeling a quiet thrill. This wasn't just about surviving a bet. It was about discovery, empowerment, and the first taste of authenticity. The fear and excitement coexisted, but the fear no longer dominated. Curiosity and confidence had begun to take root, and I couldn't wait to explore further. I realized something crucial: stepping into this version of myself didn't just feel right, it was right. It happened on Sunday afternoon, the final stretch of my weekend challenge. I had grown confident, almost fearless, in my new persona. But nothing could have prepared me for the chaos that awaited in the school gym. The cheer squad had called a last-minute practice, and Chloe had invited me to join in properly for the final rehearsal. My stomach twisted into knots as I stepped inside, skirt swishing, sneakers squeaking on the polished floor. The room buzzed with energy, teammates practicing flips and chants. Whispers rippled as soon as I entered. "Is he seriously doing this? Wow, look at him." My pulse throbbed in my ears. Every glance felt like a spotlight, every step a test of courage. Chloe approached, hands on her hips, a sly grin on her face. "Ready for the full routine?" she asked. I swallowed, nodding, though my voice betrayed me. I'll try." The first steps were shaky. My hips swayed too much, my arms stiff. Teammates giggled quietly, some exchanged glances, and I felt the old familiar burn of embarrassment crawling up my neck. Panic surged. I wanted to run, to rip off the uniform and vanish into the locker room. Then Chloe shouted, "No, wait. Look at your stance." Flow with it. You've got this. Something clicked. The encouragement, the energy of the squad, the rhythmic clapping, it all merged into a pulse I could tap into. I let go of the fear, allowed my body to move naturally, swaying and stepping, tilting my head with practiced grace. The uniform no longer felt like a trap, it felt like an extension of myself. And then, someone recognized me. Tyler, a close friend from my math class, stopped mid-jump, eyes wide. "Wait, is that you?" His voice carried a mixture of shock and disbelief, and the entire room seemed to freeze. My chest tightened. Every instinct screamed to deny it, to laugh it off, to escape. But the eyes staring at me weren't mocking, they were curious, surprised, maybe even impressed. I took a deep breath, heart hammering, and whispered, "Yes. It's me." The pause felt like eternity. Then Tyler nodded slowly. "Wow, okay. You look amazing." The words hit me like lightning. A rush of exhilaration, relief, and validation flooded through me. My confidence surged, bolstered by the cheer squad's encouraging claps and smiles. I finished the routine flawlessly, each step now filled with intention, grace, and pride. By the end, I realized the choice was mine. I could retreat, hide in embarrassment, and let this experience fade, or I could embrace it fully, own this new identity, and carry it forward unapologetically. I glanced at my reflection in the mirrored wall, at the soft curves, the delicate sway, the confident posture. The fear that had plagued me since Friday melted into exhilaration. I had faced judgment, exposure, and doubt, and survived. For the first time, I smiled genuinely, understanding that the weekend bet had forced me into more than a uniform. It had forced me to confront myself, to test boundaries, to find courage in vulnerability, and to claim a part of me I hadn't known existed. After that weekend, everything felt different. The bet was over, the uniforms packed away, but I carried with me a sense of confidence I hadn't expected. It wasn't about hiding or performing anymore, it was about being. Monday morning arrived, and I walked into school deliberately, posture straight, head held high, soft skirt swaying lightly with each step. I noticed the glances, the whispers, but this time, they no longer made me shrink. I had faced scrutiny, exposure, and embarrassment, and I had survived. More than that, I had thrived. In the cafeteria, friends approached me differently. Chloe winked from across the table. "You crushed it this weekend. Totally natural now," she said. Her approval carried warmth and acknowledgement, not judgment. Tyler nodded, smiling. "Yeah, you really owned it. Proud of you." Even teachers seemed to treat me differently, not in shock or confusion, but with a subtle respect. Mr. Hargrove called me aside. "I noticed how confident you were during that practice. Good job. That takes courage." His words, simple yet sincere, reinforced the transformation happening not just in my appearance, but in my entire presence. I discovered something extraordinary. The empowerment wasn't just in the clothes, the skirts, or the high-pitched voice. It was in the freedom to inhabit myself fully, without fear, without apology. I experimented with outfits deliberately, with gestures, and with speech that felt authentic. I learned to walk through hallways with grace, to move my hands and hips naturally, to speak with softness and clarity. Each small act reinforced that this wasn't a performance, it was an extension of my identity. At home, mirrors no longer frightened me. I studied my reflection with curiosity and pride, noticing the subtle sway of my shoulders, the softness of my cheeks, the gentle flow of my hair. Every day, I grew more comfortable, more confident, and more certain that this version of me, feminine, graceful, playful, was not a bet, not a joke, not temporary. It was me. Online communities became a sanctuary. I connected with others who had explored similar journeys, exchanging stories, advice, and encouragement. I found a chosen family, people who celebrated authenticity, courage, and curiosity. Their support reinforced what I had already discovered. Embracing my true self was not only liberating, it was empowering. The pivotal moment came when Chloe invited me to a casual weekend event with the cheer squad. I hesitated, memories of fear and embarrassment swirling, but I remembered how I had conquered the gym, how I had embraced the weekend fully. This time, I didn't hesitate. I dressed carefully, practiced my posture, and walked into the gathering with deliberate grace. Smiles, compliments, laughter, all flowed freely. I realized that the challenge had given me more than a story or a memory. It had given me ownership of myself. I could inhabit this body, this identity, this presence with pride, joy, and authenticity. No one could take that away. By the end of the evening, alone in my room once more, I studied my reflection. The person staring back wasn't defined by a bet, by the squad, or by anyone else's judgment. She was complete, confident, authentic. I am me, I whispered, soft but certain. And for the first time, I believed it fully. After that weekend, everything felt different. The bet was over, the uniforms packed away, but I carried with me a sense of confidence I hadn't expected. It wasn't about hiding or performing anymore, it was about being. Monday morning arrived, and I walked into school deliberately, posture straight, head held high, soft skirt swaying lightly with each step. I noticed the glances, the whispers, but this time, they no longer made me shrink. I had faced scrutiny, exposure, and embarrassment, and I had survived. More than that, I had thrived. In the cafeteria, friends approached me differently. Chloe winked from across the table. "You crushed it this weekend. Totally natural now," she said. Her approval carried warmth and acknowledgement, not judgment. Tyler nodded, smiling. "Yeah, you really owned it. Proud of you." Even teachers seemed to treat me differently, not in shock or confusion, but with a subtle respect. Mr. Hargrove called me aside. "I noticed how confident you were during that practice. Good job. That takes courage." His words, simple yet sincere, reinforced the transformation happening not just in my appearance, but in my entire presence. I discovered something extraordinary. The empowerment wasn't just in the clothes, the skirts, or the high-pitched voice. It was in the freedom to inhabit myself fully, without fear, without apology. I experimented with outfits deliberately, with gestures, and with speech that felt authentic. I learned to walk through hallways with grace, to move my hands and hips naturally, to speak with softness and clarity. Each small act reinforced that this wasn't a performance, it was an extension of my identity. At home, mirrors no longer frightened me. I studied my reflection with curiosity and pride, noticing the subtle sway of my shoulders, the softness of my cheeks, the gentle flow of my hair. Every day, I grew more comfortable, more confident, and more certain that this version of me, feminine, graceful, playful, was not a bet, not a joke, not temporary. It was me. Online communities became a sanctuary. I connected with others who had explored similar journeys, exchanging stories, advice, and encouragement. I found a chosen family, people who celebrated authenticity, courage, and curiosity. Their support reinforced what I had already discovered. Embracing my true self was not only liberating, it was empowering. The pivotal moment came when Chloe invited me to a casual weekend event with the cheer squad. I hesitated, memories of fear and embarrassment swirling, but I remembered how I had conquered the gym, how I had embraced the weekend fully. This time, I didn't hesitate. I dressed carefully, practiced my posture, and walked into the gathering with deliberate grace. Smiles, compliments, laughter, all flowed freely. I realized that the challenge had given me more than a story or a memory. It had given me ownership of myself. I could inhabit this body, this identity, this presence with pride, joy, and authenticity. No one could take that away. By the end of the evening, alone in my room once more, I studied my reflection. The person staring back wasn't defined by a bet, by the squad, or by anyone else's judgment. She was complete, confident, authentic. "I am me," I whispered, soft but certain. And for the first time, I believed it fully. Looking back, the bet, the skirts, the whispered jokes, they were just the beginning. What truly transformed me wasn't a challenge or a uniform, it was the courage to explore, to embrace, and to accept every part of myself. I learned that fear and excitement often walk hand in hand, and that the moments that scare us most are sometimes the ones that set us free. Now, when I look in the mirror, I see strength in softness, confidence in curiosity, and joy in authenticity. I've learned that true empowerment isn't about hiding or performing, it's about owning who you are, unapologetically, in every glance, every gesture, every choice. If you ever feel trapped by expectation, judgment, or fear, remember, Stepping into your truth may feel terrifying, but it is also the most liberating, exhilarating, and magical experience you will ever have.